so much, or at least attempt to do it, that I have scratched out written pages, through my better taste and sense. Neither will I, upon this head, make any difference even now, being simply betrayed into mentioning the matter because bare truth requires it in the tale of Lorna's fortunes. For a mighty giant had arisen in a part of Cornwall, and his calf was 25 inches round, and the breadth of his shoulders 2 feet and a quarter, and his stature 7 feet and 3 quarters. Round the chest he was 70 inches, and his hand a foot across, and there were no scales strong enough to judge of his weight in the marketplace. Now this man, or I should say his backers and his boasters, for the giant himself was modest, sent me a brave and haughty challenge, to meet him in the ring at Bodmin town, on the first day of August, or else to return my champion's belt to them by the messenger. It is no use to deny but that I was greatly dashed and scared at first. For my part, I was only, when measured without clothes on, 60 inches round the breast, and round the calf scarce 21, only 2 feet across the shoulders, and in height not 6 3/4. However, my mother would never believe that this man could beat me, and Lorna being of the same mind, I resolved to go and try him, as they would pay all expenses and £100 if I conquered him, so confident were those Cornishmen. Now this story is too well known for me to go through it again and again. Every child in Devonshire knows, and his grandson will know, the song which some clever man made of it, after I had treated him to water and to lemon and a little sugar and a drop of eau de vie. Enough that I had found the giant quite as big as they had described him, and enough to terrify any one. But trusting in my practice and study of the art, I resolved to try a back with him. And when my arms were round him once, the giant was but a farthingale put into the vice of a blacksmith. The man had no bones, his frame sank in, and I was afraid of crushing him. He lay on his back, and smiled at me, and I begged his pardon. Now this affair made a noise at the time, and redounded so much to my credit, that I was deeply grieved at it, because deserving none. For I do like a good strife and struggle, and the doubt makes the joy of victory; whereas in this case I might as well have been sent for a match with a haymow. However, I got my £100, and made up my mind to spend every farthing in presents for mother and Lorna. For Annie was married by this time, and long before I went away, as need scarcely be said, perhaps, if any one follows the weeks and the months. The wedding was quiet enough, except for everybody's good wishes, and I desire not to dwell upon it, because it grieved me in many ways. But now that I had tried to hope the very best for dear Annie, a deeper blow than could have come even through her awaited me. For after that visit to Cornwall, and with my prize money about me, I came on foot from Okehampton to Oare, so as to save a little sum towards my time of marrying. For Lorna's fortune I would not have; small or great, I would not have it; only if there were no denying we would devote the whole of it to charitable uses, as Master Peter Blundell had done; and perhaps the future ages would endeavour to be grateful. Lorna and I had settled this question at least twice a day, on the average, and each time with more satisfaction. Now coming into the kitchen with all my cash in my breeches pocket, golden guineas, with an elephant on them, for the stamp of the Guinea Company, I found dear mother most heartily glad to see me safe and sound again; for she had dreaded that giant, and dreamed of him, and she never asked me about the money. Lizzie also was softer, and more gracious than usual, especially when she saw me pour guineas, like peppercorns, into the pudding basin. But by the way they hung about, I knew that something was gone wrong. "Where is Lorna?" I asked at length, after trying not to ask it. "I want her to come and see my money. She never saw so much before." "Alas!" said mother with a heavy sigh, "she will see a great deal more, I fear, and a deal more than is good for her. Whether you ever see her again will depend upon her nature, John." "What do you mean, mother? Have you quarrelled? Why does not Lorna come to me? Am I never to know?" "Now, John, be not so impatient," my mother replied, quite calmly, for in truth she was jealous of Lorna. "You could wait now very well, John, if it were till this day week for the coming of your mother, John; and yet your mother is your best friend. Who can ever fill her place?" Thinking of her future absence, mother turned away and cried, and the box iron singed the blanket. "Now," said I, being wild by this time, "Lizzie, you have a little sense. Will you tell me where is Lorna?" "The Lady Lorna Dugal," said Lizzie, screwing up her lips as if the title were too grand, "is gone to London, brother John, and not likely to come back again. We must try to get on without her." "You little something," I cried, which I dare not write down here, as all you are too good for such language. But Lizzie's lip provoked me so. "My Lorna gone, my Lorna gone! And without good bye to me even! It is your spite has sickened her." "You are quite mistaken there," she replied. "How can folk of low degree have either spite or liking towards the people so far above them? The Lady Lorna Dugal is gone, because she could not help herself; and she wept enough to break 10 hearts, if hearts are ever broken, John." "Darling Lizzie, how good you are!" I cried, without noticing her sneer. "Tell me all about it, dear; tell me every word she said." "That will not take long," said Lizzie, quite as unmoved by soft coaxing as by urgent cursing. "The lady spoke very little to any one, except indeed to mother, and to Gwenny Carfax, and Gwenny is gone with her, so that the benefit of that is lost. But she left a letter for 'poor John,' as in charity she called him. How grand she looked, to be sure, with the fine clothes on that were come for her." "Where is the letter, you utter vixen? Oh, may you have a husband!" "Who will thresh it out of you, and starve it and swear it out of you," was the meaning of my imprecation; but Lizzie, not dreaming as yet of such things, could not understand me, and was rather thankful; therefore she answered quietly, "The letter is in the little cupboard, near the head of Lady Lorna's bed, where she used to keep the diamond necklace, which we contrived to get stolen." Without another word I rushed, so that every board in the house shook, up to my lost Lorna's room, and tore the little wall niche open, and espied my treasure. It was as simple, and as homely, and loving, as even I could wish. Part of it ran as follows; the other parts it behoves me not to open out to strangers. "My own love and sometime lord, take it not amiss of me, that even without farewell I go; for I cannot persuade the men to wait, your return being doubtful. My great uncle, some grand lord, is awaiting me at Dunster, having fear of venturing too near this Exmoor country. I who have been so lawless always, and the child of outlaws, am now to atone for this, it seems, by living in a court of law, and under special surveillance, as they call it, I believe, of His Majesty's Court of Chancery. My uncle is appointed my guardian and master, and I must live beneath his care until I am 21 years old. To me this appears a dreadful thing, and very unjust and cruel; for why should I lose my freedom, through heritage of land and gold? I offered to abandon all if they would only let me go. I went down on my knees to them, and said I wanted titles not, neither land nor money, only to stay where I was, where first I had known happiness. But they only laughed and called me child, and said I must talk of that to the King's High Chancellor. Their orders they had, and must obey them; and Master Stickles was ordered too, to help as the King's Commissioner. And then, although it pierced my heart not to say one good bye, John, I was glad upon the whole that you were not here to dispute it; for I am almost certain that you would not, without force to yourself, have let your Lorna go to people who never, never can care for her." Here my darling had wept again, by the tokens on the paper; and then there followed some sweet words, too sweet for me to chatter them. But she finished with these noble lines, which, being common to all humanity,